Prime Minister, you have been a senior member of the Cabinet since 1997, Prime Minister since 2007 in June, and you are particularly well placed to offer us insights into the whole period covered by our terms of reference. It has been borne in on this inquiry from the outset that the Coalition's decision to take military action led directly or most often indirectly to the loss of the lives of many people, servicemen and women in our and the multinational forces, the Iraqi security forces, and many civilians, men, women and children in Iraq. Still more have been affected by those losses and by other consequences of the action. Given all that experience, I should like to ask, right at the outset, whether you believe the decision to take military action in March 2003 was indeed right.
It was the right decision, and it was for the right reasons. But I do want at the outset to pay my respects to all the soldiers and members of our armed forces who served with great courage and distinction in Iraq for the loss of life and the sacrifices that they have made, and my thoughts are with their families. Next week we will dedicate at the National Arboretum a memorial to the 179 servicemen and women who died in Iraq, and I think the thoughts and prayers of us are with all the families today. I should also like to say that there were many civilian injuries and deaths in Iraq as well, British citizens, and my thoughts and prayers are with them. And we know that there was a huge loss of life in Iraq among civilians, and I think any loss of life is something that makes us very sad indeed. So I would like to acknowledge the contribution of all our British forces, but particularly acknowledge the sacrifice of those who lost their lives. I think that this is the gravest decision of all, to make a decision to go to war. I believe we made the right decision for the right reasons, because the international community had for years asked Saddam Hussein to abide by international law and the international obligations that he had accepted. 14 resolutions were passed by the United Nations, and at the end of the day, it was impossible to persuade him that he should abide by international law. Now, my feeling is, and still is, that we cannot have an international community that works if we have either terrorists who are breaking these rules, or in this case, aggressor states that refuse to obey the laws of the international community. I do think, Sir John, we have lessons to learn, however. I think in 3 areas I would like to discuss with you, and I hope that you will take on board the questions and the answers that come from these issues. The first is we have been fighting 2 wars, and it's essential that we have the proper structures of decision-making. And of course, as time has gone on, both Tony Blair and I have changed the structures of decision-making in government. I think the second thing is we won the battle within almost 7 days, but it has taken 7 years to win the peace in Iraq. And I think we are developing the concept of a just peace and how we can actually manage conflicts like this in a way that we get reconstruction and a stake in the future by, in this case, the Iraqi people. And I think the third thing we've learned, and I would like to discuss it with you, but it's for you to ask me questions, is that there will be interventions in the future, and international cooperation has got to be far greater than it was. Global problems require better global institutions, and I would particularly draw attention to the importance in all this of the strongest possible relationship between Europe and America, something that I'm determined to build up and continue to make stronger in the future.